Good evening, everyone. I'm Spencer Williams, Director of Land Use and Topography for Brooklyn Borough President Antonio Reynoso.
Good evening. I'm Britt Bird, Senior Planner for Borough President Reynoso.
This Uniform Land Use Review Procedure public hearing is being conducted from the Brooklyn Borough Hall courtroom on Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. Please note that this hearing is being streamed via WebEx and recorded to comply with the Open Meetings Law. The video will later be posted on the Brooklyn Borough President's YouTube channel. We have 7 items on the agenda this evening. Following each applicant's presentation and any questions from the chair and panel, members of the public who are in attendance tonight will be invited to testify on the applications. As a reminder, all comments are limited to 2 minutes. When your time is up, you will hear this noise that will come shortly. So please familiarize yourself with that. So with that, while this meeting is being live streamed, we do not accept virtual testimony. Members of the public may also submit comments to testimony@brooklynbp.nyc.gov for the Borough President's consideration until Friday, July 18th, 2025. Please call the first item.
Calendar item number 1, 74 Bogart Street rezoning, a private application for a zoning map amendment from M12 to a M14A zoning district to facilitate a new 7-story, approximately 240,000 square foot art storage development is being sought by 74 Bogart LLC at 74 Bogart Street, Williamsburg Community District 1, Brooklyn. The panel is here. Please state your name and present this application.
Good evening. My name is Ethan Goodman. I'm with the firm of Fox Rothschild. We represent 74 Bogart LLC in their application for rezoning at 74 Bogart Street in East Williamsburg at the intersection of Bogart Street, Morgan Avenue, Ingram, and Harrison Street. I will first introduce the president and COO of WOVO Company to give an overview of their operations, what they do, and what they've been doing in the community. With that, this is Caroline Page Katz, who's president and COO of WOVO.
Good evening. I'm Caroline, president and COO of WOVO. For those of you who are not familiar, WOVO is an art storage and services company. We do art, fashion, logistics, not just storage, but also trucking, installation, packing, you name it. In the arts industry, we take care of it. We serve a varied clientele from artists, museums, galleries, foundations, museums, all across the country, but we are originally from New York. So we have 26 locations across the US. Our headquarters is in Long Island City, and we have a building in Brooklyn already at 105 Evergreen Avenue. At our heart, we are a New York City headquartered company. We employ 65 New York City residents, and 41 of those currently live in Brooklyn. Those people enjoy biking to work, taking one subway to get to work, or live walkable from our facility, which really enhances their quality of life and their work-life balance. With Bogart Street, we expect to add up to 30 jobs in that location and continue to be a hub for the arts community. You may think storage, which is a part of what we do, but we are also a very dynamic community where registrars, archivists, framers, art handlers, curators, collections managements all work in that space, including our staff, but with our clients too. We have visitors from across the country and the world who come to work and see what we are doing. We have viewing rooms, which we handle conservations, installations, inventory management, a client cafe where people can enjoy snacks, and we also put up our staff art shows in those spaces. We facilitate online showcasing of that art and also help to match any sales that our staff do with donations to arts funds and other not-for-profits. As you can see from these photos, there's lots of community events and things happening in the space, and it gives a little bit more color to what art storage and logistics can be. Go to the next slide. We are also very proud of all of the local artist community support that we do. We have the WOVO Prize, which gets a lot of attention. It's in partnership with the Brooklyn Museum. We give a $25,000 grant to an emerging artist who has to be a Brooklyn resident. They get a 50 by 50 banner installed on our Evergreen building and a private exhibit at the Brooklyn Museum. What is also not on here is that we are regularly supporting arts organizations, artists, foundations, not-for-profits by providing in-kind service, financial support. We've helped install Creative Time shows in Brooklyn. We have done things like Pamela Council's Fountain for Survivors in Times Square. We helped deinstall the New York City AIDS Memorial recently that was headed down to New Orleans for exhibits. So we are really involved in the community, and the people who are our clients and our staff radiate out into the community, spending their money, visiting arts and galleries, institutions in and around Brooklyn. And we are proud to be at the center of that. This is a small example of what people we've worked with, people we've supported, and that is just a small sampling, but we are regularly doing this and we really enjoy the work that we do. So that's what I got.
Yeah. Okay, just to describe the technical nature of the application and where we are. As you'll see on this plan, we are immediately adjacent to the Morgan Avenue subway station on the L line. The rezoning that we're asking for now to an M14A was guided by DCP planning principles as articulated in the North Brooklyn Industry and Innovation Plan. As you can see, we're in the pink growth district at the southern edge of the map on the right. We are right in the middle of that. And the plan outlined key land use recommendations for the Bogart Growth District, including increasing density for commercial and industrial uses, creating new loft-like building envelopes, developing new M districts and land use tools to allow for densities between 2 and 5 FAR. And that is what we are proposing. Seen on this zoning map, the entirety of the block is proposed to be upzoned from an M12, which is currently a 2 FAR zone, to an M14A, which is one of the new districts that was passed as part of the City of Yes for Economic Opportunity. And that allows for a maximum FAR of 5 FAR to facilitate the facility that we are proposing to build. With that, I'm going to pass it over to the architect, Paul Carr, to talk about the design intent in the building we propose to build.
Good evening. I've just got a few slides here to give you a sense of how we've advanced this design. This slide represents some images of the context, things that have inspired the building, both its industrial past and the sort of vibrant community that we're seeing today. Just need to, yeah, I'll take that. Sure. This is a view of the site as we see as you emerge from the L subway train, and we think this is probably the most important corner on the site. A view of the building as we propose it. It's collage of materials that draw on the context that we've been observing, but it's also, I think, trying to express the nature of the building as an arts-related institution. One thing that we have been very cognizant of, given the nature of the program, is the street activation. And as you'll see in this rendering, we've located the main entrance to the building, the lobby, the entrance, at the corner opposite the subway station. And as you look forward up Bogart Street, there's a continued glazing which reflects front office facilities, other things that can activate the building frontage. But then more importantly, as you proceed up, and I have another slide, I believe, for that, we are proposing a line of sidewalk show windows that basically would offer an opportunity for the display of local artwork, certainly something that would animate the sidewalk and further the goal of sidewalk activation. View from McKibben, this is from the west, from the park on the right, as you can see it there. And a view at the northwest corner. Again, this actually in the foreground displays, again, these sidewalk show windows, as I call them, with the and handle a rotating program of local artists, for example. And I'm going to leave that to
Thank you, Paul. So to close, I just want to touch on some of the community board recommendations and the conditions that they attach to the recommendation. They attach 4 conditions to the recommendation. The first was to work with local schools to promote arts education. And I'm proud to say that we are developing a program for 2 local schools, PS 145 and the Young Women's Leadership School of Brooklyn, which is a women's high school. And these would both be modeled after the successful art programs at PS 274 to bring arts into the classroom. We think the best way to spread our gospel is actually to bring education into the classroom via arts programs that these schools may not be able to provide just with their current budgets. Second condition was to work with the Parks Department and Community Board 1 to contribute to maintenance and capital improvements of Gilbert Ramirez Park. It is also something we are fully aligned with. We are currently coordinating with the North Brooklyn Parks Alliance toward this end to best direct our contributions to that park. It is our front door, and we are very interested in making sure it's as actively and well-maintained as possible. The third is use local artists for outside work. We are currently developing a program, as Paul Carr mentioned, to activate the ground floor with show windows with local art. We also think there may be a potential WOVO prize tie-in with respect to the display of local art. And finally, explore the possibility of using 100% electric power sources. It's something we are also deeply examining, doing a feasibility assessment to see the extent to which we can use 100% electric power. And with that, I will close the formal presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Were there any other zoning districts considered for this application? Would the proposed project be possible under a different zoning, like M15, for example?
Yeah, so when we first started the dialogue with the Department of City Planning, the M14A didn't actually exist. It was an M15, and that's actually what we were originally proposing. In theory, a building can be built under the M15. It provides enough floor area to build the 240 or some odd thousand square feet. What the M14A does, it allows a little bit more of a generous front wall height. It was designed to allow for buildings that are more sort of loft-like with higher floor to ceilings. And so that gets us a little more area in the front before we have to set back and makes the building work a little better.
And can you elaborate on what makes that work better? Do you have better opportunities for art storage that are larger pieces? What?
Yep. Yeah. So the way the floors work is you want to maximize your coverage on the footprint so that you're not setting back at the base and having a small building. A storage in general and art storage particularly works best with the biggest floor plates and footprints you can operate. So our goal is to build as many full floors as we can. And then utilize the remainder of the floor area. Since you can't build an entire full floor for the top, that goes into 2 floors. So the additional front wall height lets us do that a little bit better than the M15.
Wonderful. Can you please discuss a little bit more around the proposed ground floor programming? Have you explored any ground floor retail or other more active uses, particularly near the entrance to the subway station, or do you have experience in operating such spaces in other projects?
Yes. It's a good question. It's something that came up at the community board and something we're very interested in terms of this being the front when people exit the subway station, being a very prominent location. So the WOVO parent organization owns the entire block, including the self-storage on the eastern half of the block. There is no sort of religious opposition to retail. We actually love retail. If I think I have an image here that shows the retail that's proposed at the Cube Smart on the other side of the block. This is in direct response to the community desire to enliven the first floor. It is very odd for a self-storage facility to have retail on the ground floor, and we're very proud of this retail. The issue here is a little bit more with the uses inside. Very high value artworks, museums store with us. They're very concerned about opening up and having things like restaurants, other spaces that are not controlled by WOVO. There's liability concerns. So the goal here, what we've been trying to do is enliven the street front as much as we can without bringing in external parties that'll have leasehold interests. So right now we're looking at show windows. We have an open mind. If there's other ideas people have, we're happy to consider them. We just think retail can be a little more difficult here.
And so you're saying the primary concern here is really around safety, security, and insurance?
Primarily, yeah. It's secondarily, you always want to maximize your footprint, especially on the ground floor. A lot happens on the ground floor here. The more we cut into it with retail space or other non-art WOVO related spaces on the ground floor, the less, flexible we are on the uses there.
And similarly to that, in addition, has there been any consideration for artist studios or small maker spaces that would bring an opportunity for people to make art as well as store art here?
Yeah. So, in the past, the way we've approached that is we think the best way we can spread the mission is to bring art into classrooms, bring it into the local community. This facility is really intended to advance our core mission. We are certainly not opposed to supporting the local arts, as Caroline was telling you with the WOVO Prize, but we're really devoted here to the primary mission of art logistics and storage.
And has the applicant met with industrial stakeholders in the area? How does the proposed application align with industrial development? I know that you spoke to the North Brooklyn Innovation Plan, but
Right. Yeah. So the short answer is yes, we have. I think you will find that it is not very common that people will come for an upzone to a higher density manufacturing district. These days, people are seeking to change zoning to residence or commercial to allow uses that are not necessarily fully aligned with the manufacturing and industrial intent of the area. We are definitely not that. This is upzoning for manufacturing and industrial uses. We've been closely aligned and coordinated with the Evergreen Exchange, and they are supportive of the project. They wrote a letter in support to the local community board, and so we think the local industrial stakeholders are supportive of us too.
And then lastly, could you talk a little bit about load-in for art and sort of where that happens and how that happens in relationship to the CubeSmart on the block?
Yep, I sure can. And for that, I've actually got a ground floor plan there up on the screen. The loading will take place in the mid-block. There's both small loading docks on Harrison at the southern edge and somewhat larger loading docks on Ingram. All of the loading will occur inside the facility, so you won't have trucks that are loading from the street, unloading from the street. Everything is inside the building, and so we can control the whole environment there. There will still be parking and loading to remain next to the CubeSmart. We're not taking that away. We're just building a building west of the CubeSmart and loading entirely inside.
Wonderful. Thank you. The panel is now excused.
Thank you.
We will now call for testimony on this application from members of the public who are in attendance. Please note again that all comments are limited to 2 minutes.
Great. So we'll call from the sign-in sheets. Again, if you wish to testify, please check a box on the sign-in sheets. If you're just here to attend, you do not need to check in a box. If you don't want to speak, don't check a box. If you would still like to sign up, you can. Just sign up at one of the sheets outside, and it will get relayed to the dais. Okay, first we have Nick Hoker, followed by David Penna.
Hello, my name is Nick Hecker. I am an artist in the neighborhood about 2 blocks away from the proposed site. I'm also an ex-employee of WOVO. I got hired during a recession when I graduated art school. I went to the new school and was one of the first handlers that was hired at WOVO at their initial facility. And I must honestly can say I haven't been employed for about 5 years with the institution, but I'm now at another gallery that's in the same industry. But I can honestly say that my time there was a greater education than the one I paid for at New School. I was exposed to unbelievable amounts of beautiful contemporary work that is very kind of important in the greater structure of how I make my own work. It was a great education. I cannot say enough. I was exposed to, like what Caroline said, many individuals that worked on behalf of the clients that stored at these institutions, and they were extremely great references and resources on the day-to-day basis. Because like she said, these are people that come to the facility daily. And so those types of people would be in the community, kind of supporting local businesses, eating lunch, et cetera, based on my experience with the company, as also with the staff of WOVO. And being 2 blocks away, I can only say that it would be a benefit. It's currently a FedEx parking lot where people smoke marijuana. So it would be wonderful to have it be a place and an institution that would bring so much richness into the culture. And the neighborhood has lost a lot of wonderful contemporary galleries like Clearing, and Luring Augustine now uses that space as a storage. So it would also be nice to kind of build upon the history that the neighborhood has had in that kind of level of contemporary art. And I know with my experience working at WOVO that WOVO can bring that. So I hope that blue comes to Bogart. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you. Next is David Penna, followed by Karina Aguilar. And while David is coming up, if someone left their sunglasses at security, we have them up here.
Hi, my name is David Penna. I am a neighbor of the current Evergreen location of WOVO and also a small business owner in the area. And I've had the opportunity to be involved with WOVO in both those capacities. I've lived just a block away from the Evergreen location for about 5 years and in the neighborhood for the past 13 years. They're a great neighbor. Besides the WOVO Prize mural on the front, that's always a nice thing to see walking by. They keep the area clear, and the loading dock is thoughtfully placed behind the facility where the trucks aren't out on the street blocking traffic or anything like that. And as a caterer, my catering company was able to work with WOVO for their unveiling of the new mural just last month. And it was nice for a business to be thoughtfully using other local small businesses for that kind of thing. So, yeah, and echoing what Nick mentioned about the current use of that space for the new location, I think that there's no neighborhood proponents for keeping it a FedEx parking lot. So it'd be great to see something else in that space. Thanks.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you. Next is Karina Aguilar, followed by David Moore.
Good evening, all. My name is Karina Aguilar, and I'm a resident and neighbor of 74 Bogart Street for 4 generations since the 1970s. So my family has lived there on Borough Street for almost 50 years. I'm here to voice a strong opposition to the proposed rezoning and construction of the 7-story private art storage facility. And I bring with me the voices of hundreds of community residents. We recently had a meeting with a council member, and there were the presence of hundreds of people expressing these thoughts. The project offers absolutely no benefit to the community. It will create an empty, dead block that feels unsafe, especially at night. Neighbors already feel unsafe and avoid walking past Q-Smart when getting off the Morgan L train station because it's dimly lit and lifeless. Building an even bigger version of that is not development, it's disconnection, cutting the community off. The developer behind this project, the same one that built Q-Smart and knew the restrictions when they acquired it, is asking us to trade one of the most transit accessible sites in Brooklyn for a temperature-controlled bunker to store multi-million-dollar art collections. This art will never be seen by us, the public, never support local culture, and never contribute to our daily lives. Meanwhile, our neighborhood still lacks basic amenities like a full-service grocery store or a proper pharmacy. We have vibrant local businesses, celebrated restaurants, artists, and families who are investing in making East Williamsburg a more welcoming place. A massive private vault is the exact opposite of what this neighborhood deserves or needs. This facility, like Q-Smart, will create no housing, no meaningful jobs, no public space, and no cultural infrastructure. It does nothing to improve safety or quality of life. Instead, it actively drains energy and opportunity from our community. I urge you to reject this proposal to rezone 74 Bogart, stand with the people and businesses who live here, and support development that builds a stronger, more vibrant community instead of locking us out. I want to say that also the park that's right across the street from the location needs assistance.
Thank you, Karina.
Thank you. Next is David Moore. And then the next sign up I have is Tyler Awarder. But Tyler, is Tyler with the applicant team? Okay, then since the applicant team presents on its own, we'll just keep going down the list. Thanks.
Hi, my name is David Moore. I'm actually an owner and a next door neighbor of the lot, the FedEx lot. And I'm very opposed to this project. And as a business owner and an owner of a property in the neighborhood, I can tell you that this kind of property and this kind of development is only going to hurt the neighborhood, and it's not aligned with anything that's going to be helpful for this neighborhood. What it's going to do is basically cut Bogart into two and separate the neighborhood and kill the neighborhood, because a big building with windowless building, lifeless building right in the middle of Bogart, which is supposed to be a thriving street, is not going to be beneficial for anyone. And as a property owner, the first thing I did when I had a building and redeveloped this building and it had no windows, we put in windows. We put in a lot of windows. We made it so that everybody could see inside, that people could interact with the building, that you could have a gallery, that you could have retail, that you could have interaction with the neighborhood. Nobody wants to come out of a train station and look at a windowless building that there's nothing to do with. It has no place in this neighborhood. And I'm not even certain why this is even being discussed, because nobody in the neighborhood wants it, including the business owners in the neighborhood. And I would really think that what they're telling you they're going to give you for this building, they're going to give you some money for a park, they're going to give you 2 classes. They're taking away the entire neighborhood. They're literally going to destroy Bogart, which is a thriving street. It's one of the main arteries of East Williamsburg, and make it barren forever. And that's a big sacrifice to do for one building in such an important block. Everywhere else, you might have said it's okay, but not there.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Dave Hoffman, who will be followed by Vilma Clausen.
How you doing? So as a community member over the past 15 years, I have to slightly disagree with some folk. As someone who walks out of this train station once a day and walks into it once a day, I can tell you that walking by an empty parking lot it hurts. It hurts to be a community member of a thriving community, of one that does represent the arts and does represent the food and does represent such beautiful things. To walk out and not feel like that's represented is something that, is not true to the community, is not true to the neighborhood, is not true to the architecture. One thing I want to make really important that me and my partner have spoken about in depth is how people take care of the space outside of their space. And what we've seen through the Evergreen property that I think that they manage is it's clean, it's taken care of, there's no trash. From what I've noticed, there is actually really good lighting on the sidewalk. And what we see now is a dark, desolate, I think one working, it's not safe, it's not welcoming. And something like this is, in my opinion, something that we need, and something that I might not be a property owner, I can't afford to own property, but as a renter, it's something that I think will increase the value of my perceived value, and something that our community needs just to enrich life and enrich our community. And that's all I got for you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next up is Vilma Clausen, who will be followed by Jeffrey Miller.
Hello, my name is Vilma Clausen. I work at Charles Moffett Gallery, which is a young, somewhat emerging gallery, and we have been working with WOVO for years now. They have cultivated a beautiful and positive work environment. They've been really accommodating to our needs as a small business, and they've really made our business function and legitimize. And so, as well as supporting us as a gallery, they also support our emerging artists. So Melissa Joseph, who we represent, is who received the WOVO Prize this year. So I really just feel as though they support the arts, support emerging artists, and create an environment that empowers that industry. And as a native New Yorker and a resident of East Williamsburg, I feel like it would only enhance the community as the current space in Bushwick does. So, yeah.
Great. Thank you for your testimony. So next is Jeffrey Miller, who will be followed by Austin Ferd. Okay, if Jeffrey is not here, then we will proceed straight to Austin.
Hello, my name is Austin Faird. I'm a member of Community Board 1 and sit on the Land Use Committee. 20 years ago, I lived down the block from this site. I voted against this project because I do not think it is in the best interest of the community. We do not need a 7-story brick and metal box directly across the street from a subway station while we're in a housing emergency. As a worker in the last mile logistics space, I'm very sympathetic to the loss of a site for the FedEx facility, which by my estimate represents over 100 jobs at that site. It sounds like the property owner, Wovo, should improve the lighting on their property if they respect the community. It is challenging to find affordable logistics space for same-day delivery operations. Rezoning that takes away useful space for logistics to gift the billionaire's art storage company, a rezoning that allows them to build a structure that is 150% larger than the building that they have already maxed out their FAR with. During their presentation to the board, the architect mentioned the need to deal with the unfortunate massing of the two solid spaces right next to each other. This is only a problem if the rezoning is approved. This rezoning will give them essentially a free building worth tens of millions of dollars. When residential developers enjoy such a windfall, there are statutory requirements that they must adhere to provide community benefit. There are no such requirements for industrial developments. Given that Wovo is an extremely successful business, there is no need for them to benefit from this rezoning. A lucrative art storage facility should buy its own lot and build by right. I support the current use of the site, which provides more jobs and serves a growing community need to receive packages. I support an eventual residential or mixed-use rezoning, something that would be impossible were the structure to be built. Their promises are tepid, undefined, and not worth $20 million. I urge you to reject this proposal at 74 Bogart.
Thank you for your testimony. Next will be Nathan Buckler, followed by Lasha Amaglobelli.
Hello, everyone. My name is Nathan Buckler. I've lived in East Williamsburg now for several years, and I would say I frequent this zone maybe every other weekend. And I notice a lot of times when I'm walking toward this area, there's a lot of vacant lots, there's a lot of warehouses. It seems very, I would say, unlively. And I'm always thinking, can they basically build this up? How can we continue to build this up? I'm an advocate of this project. I think that it would be a better option than maybe just leaving vacant lots and empty warehouses. I am also an amateur guitar player, and I do feel connected to the arts, and many people who I live with are artists and musicians, and this, I feel, is a connection to that community. Similarly, I would echo some things that others have said about dimly lit areas and maybe feeling safe around these zones. And I feel that from what I've seen here in these renderings, that it would bring a lot of safety and walkability to the community. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. So then we'll have Lasha Amaglobelli next, and then Jeffrey Miller to follow.
Good evening, all. My name is Lasha Amaglobelli. I represent Chama Mama, a Georgian restaurant chain, which we're based in New York City. One of the locations we have at Montague here. We are very excited. We'll be expanding one of our branches in the Bushwick neighborhood, very close to Wovo's proposed project, which is like a few steps away. Wovo has been a very great partner for us, equipped with very highly professionals, starting from top to bottom, and they keep their properties very clean, and they care about the community. Their plan for 74 Bogart to replace truck-heavy FedEx parking lot is, we believe, is very important and beneficial for the neighborhood. And coming back from our plans, expanding to that neighborhood, we thought that that neighborhood needs development like this, which will bring more activity, will energize the economy, and will bring more daytime activity, which will benefit for businesses like us to succeed. So we are very excited to have our branch opening coming up soon by end of this year, and WOWO to be a good neighbor for us. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next is Jeffrey Miller, who will be followed by Will Diana.
Thank you for this opportunity. I'm all about doing the right thing. And doing the right thing means following the rules. When the person sold this property, they sold it for valuation based upon the rules that they existed. When the other people bought into this community, they bought into it as the rules that existed, following the rules. Now, sometimes you have to change the rules, but you change the rules with rational self-interest. The city, if they were ever to change the rules, should do that for the benefit of the city and the community that is there. Benefiting the city means increasing jobs in the city. This project will not advance that goal. Increasing tax revenue. You increase tax revenue by sales tax, by local taxes based upon salaries and a payroll tax, or upon transactions with a sales tax. This property will not advance that goal. The big threat we have is this is better than it is as it exists. Well, that's not true. Those are not your only options. The property has value. It has value to a developer who would buy it with the intent to use it as it was intended, following the rules. And if this developer does not have the skill set to develop this property as is, let them sell it to someone who does. Do not fall for the threat that, God forbid, if we do not give in to this project, nothing will exist there. That is just not true. Focus on the rules. Focus on why the rules exist. Focus on who played by the rules, and focus on who gets hurt by when we don't play by the rules. Focus on the person who sold that property based upon the value as it existed. Focus on the other landowners who own property there based upon the rules that exist. Or vote as a city member, as a citizen, and says, how does this get more jobs in my community? How does this get more sales tax revenue? And if it doesn't help, and if it doesn't advance the rules, and it doesn't advance the interests that we want, ask yourself, why would you give in to this project?
Thank you for your testimony. Next will be Will Diana, followed by Ty Armstrong.
Hey, I'm Will Diana. Lived in East Williamsburg on Maspeth Avenue for the past 6 years. I've been in the neighborhood for the past 15 years. Manage and own family real estate a few blocks north of here on Skull Street in Meserole. I don't know why anyone would be opposed to this. Anytime there's the opportunity to add art, this is not FedEx, this is not Amazon, this is art, adding art to a community, and they're going to give back to the education of our young ones. I do not know why we would oppose this. Look at how beautiful that building is going to be. It's currently a FedEx lot, and across the street, there's a concrete plant. It will sit for the next 15 years, or we could bring a beautiful art to our neighborhood. I really don't need the full time to say that, but I think it's in your hands. I'd rather have art than FedEx in my neighborhood.
Thank you for your testimony. Next is Ty Armstrong, followed by Basira Khan.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tyron Armstrong. I am a manager at WOVO at the Evergreen facility. I live and work in the neighborhood. I live in Greenpoint. I met my wife who lived on Harrison Street, right across the street from the CubeSmart location. When we were first dating and I would go visit, it was a nightmare, to say the least. It was dimly lit, dirt, debris, drug paraphernalia all over the street. Since that time, the CubeSmart has come into the area. We've developed the Evergreen location. As Evergreens exist in the neighborhood, we maintain relationships with our close neighbors. We frequent the.
Sorry to interrupt you, Taryn, but if you could keep your testimony to this project and this location, just because you do have an affiliation as an employee of the
Sure.
applicant, I'm recognizing your status as a neighbor as well. So
Noted.
just please continue.
So in my experience with the neighborhood and with the company, I know that we take care of our facilities. The area would be well taken care of. Lighting would be appropriate for people coming in and out of that subway station. I commute past that location every day to get to work, and it's often empty to people's mentioning I always smell marijuana as I'm driving in, even with just my windows cracked a little bit. And it's going to be a definite improvement to the neighborhood as it currently stands. I'm in full support of the project, and being a local resident, I'd be glad to see more art in the neighborhood.
Thank you for your testimony.
Next, we have Basira Khan, who will be followed by Maddie Crouch.
Good afternoon, everybody. I am a third-year WOVO prize winner. I was also given a solo exhibition at the Brooklyn Museum, which is a free opportunity space. Anyone who wants to go to the museum can go for free. I understand both sides of the fence. One thing I haven't heard yet is you can't put residential space in a location that has contaminated soil. And things are complicated in today's time with recession, right? So I feel like an organization that has proven over time to help multiple artists who have been marginalized in Brooklyn. Over the years, I've gotten to know them, and I know that in the future, they will continue to help my practice and those of the other artists that come along. Don't you think that it's important to revive the soil and some of the parks in the area so that other contractors can come in and people that live there and people that work in those spaces can feel safe? So that's kind of like my main reason why I'm here, just to kind of open it up and kind of be the peg between the two sides. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
So next we will have Maddie Crouch, followed by Brennan Lowry.
Hi, my name is Maddie, and I live right around the corner from this proposed project in the McKibben Lofts. I use the Morgan Ave subway every single day, and honestly, it's not the nicest block right now. Walking out, it's extremely dead, very desolate, and very unwelcoming, and I see this project as improving the space. From what I know about this project, it's only an improvement. They've already been good for the neighborhood, and I'm especially excited about the new Georgian restaurant they're helping opening around the block. Stuff like this shows that they care about adding things people actually want and use. I also really like this project because it will support the arts, and that's a big part of why Bushwick is such a great place to live. And it's nice to see a company building something that fits in with that. I think that this would be a big step forward for the neighborhood, and I hope it moves ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, Maddie.
So next we have Brenna Lowry, followed by Sierra Moronta.
Thanks. My name is Brendan Lowry, and I'm a resident of Brooklyn and an employee of WOVO. I have lived in Brooklyn very happily for 8 years after living in Manhattan for almost 11 years. I have commuted back and forth to Manhattan for the majority of my time in the city. And when an opportunity came about with WOVO to live in my borough and to have a shorter commute and be a part of, just be a part of the borough more frequently, was a great opportunity. I have been, like I said, with the company for 3 years. We have 2 restaurants across the street that have opened up in those 3 years. Our teams frequent the restaurants in the neighborhood and will continue to do so. I think this project is incredibly meaningful for the community, having been in Bushwick at least 5 days a week for the last 3 years. It'll be meaningful to the area, to the neighborhood. I use the L stop a little less frequently. My commute goes the other direction, but when I do, I have noticed what many of you have said and see you come out of the stop and it is a desolate parking lot. This would be a beautiful space, be a great opportunity for the community, and be a great opportunity for residents of Brooklyn. So I'm in full support.
Okay, thank you for your testimony.
So next we have Sierra Moranta, followed by Jay Hernandez Eli or Ellie.
Hi, my name is Sierra. I was born and raised in Bushwick. I went to elementary, middle school, and high school in Bushwick. And I have a lot of friends there, family there, so I genuinely care about what happens to this community in this neighborhood. Right now, the site at 74 Bogart is just a parking lot. I heard a few people say when they get off at Morgan on the L train, it looks, scary, unsettling. It's been like that for a long time. So to see something like this beautiful get to be in this neighborhood, I feel like it would make the neighborhood look nicer, more welcoming. And it would bring in more jobs and more people to the area during the day. So it would be great for the local restaurants and other businesses that are in the neighborhood. I could appreciate that this isn't just another big residential project that continues to push people out of the neighborhood who cannot afford to live there. From my own personal experience, this is ultimately what forced me to move out of Bushwick. So I just, sorry, give me 1 second. I'm getting a little flustered because I'm nervous because this honestly is very important to me. I know a little bit about what WOVO does do with their and the projects that they already have, and they really care about the communities that they serve, from painting murals in the hallways of local schools to brighten up the children's spaces, to holding work events locally to support surrounding businesses. To me, this demonstrates that WOVO also understands the importance of giving back to a community, not just being in it. And I really hope that they get to move forward with their plans because I think that it will only help the neighborhood and help the locals. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next we have Jay Hernandez Ellie, followed by John Edmonds.
Okay, good evening, everybody. My name is Jalen Hernandez Eli. So as context for my advocacy and support for this project, I teach at Harvard University and the Cooper Union on the future of cities and the role of cultural institutions in them. As well, I was a public servant, senior vice president and head of design construction for the city's Economic Development Corporation. Most relevantly, I served as the vice president for capital projects at the Metropolitan Museum of Art, where I had the privilege of working and selecting WOVO to help us with enabling a most critical project there, which is the Modern and Contemporary Art Wing. It's important to note that we chose them not just for their capacity and their expertise to help us, but because they were deeply aligned with the values we think critical to our posterity. Now, WOVO understands that caring for art is about caring for humanity. They've supported artists, you know this. They've invested in workforce training, built teams of specialists who treat conservation, art movement, storage as forms of craft, And that commitment is critically important to our city. Now, this project itself reflects those values. It evokes and brings the nature of its content to the street via the facade. And that, while inspired by the brick and the metal textures of the context, as you've heard, it creates a canvas for rotating contemporary exhibits, murals, large-scale urban surfaces for art, folks. We need more of that. And that way, the entire building becomes a platform for discourse. Sites for art create sites of debate, and we need more of that. The project is self-aware. It's located at a key intersection, as you all have noted. It's adjacent to and complementing artist studios. It's creating a cultural corridor. It's a catalyst of the most important kind. So this project is ultimately, for me, about shaping place. And for that reason, I'm immensely delighted to express my support for it. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next is John Edmonds, followed by Catherine Segura.
Hi, my name is John Edmonds. I am the inaugural winner of the Wovo Prize. I won that in 2019 in a very, very tumultuous time in this country for so many reasons, most notably the COVID pandemic. I got this prize at a very, very critical time for my artistic practice, but I think also just in being an artist. I used the funding that I received from the WOVO prize to go to facilitate my first trip to Ghana. That was also in support of the exhibition that I did at the Brooklyn Museum. I really see picking off of what Basira Khan was also saying. I also see this from both sides, but I also strongly advocate for WOVO because this is, for me, a project about making space and making space for art, making space for culture. I have seen firsthand all the ways in which WOVO has given back to the community, has supported artists based in Brooklyn. I also want to echo that I do feel as though WOVO has been spoken about in this way that is very cold when I, as someone who has gotten to know many of the people who have worked at WOVO, to be very supportive, to really care about the artists, to care about the art that they store, and to really believe in the power of art and community. So I just want to speak to the very personal experience that I've had as an artist who's based in Brooklyn, who has been supported by WOVO, and who continues to be supported by WOVO. And I'm really happy to be here and to support them in this project.
Thank you for your testimony.
So next we have Catherine Segura, followed by Sean Segura.
Hi, everyone. My name is Catherine Segura. I've been a Williamsburg resident for about 5 years. Someone who frequents Bushwick, whether it's to visit friends, grab coffee, great dining scene in the area as well. And I think this neighborhood and especially this area would really benefit from this project. The current parking lot really doesn't add much to the area. We've heard a lot of people reiterate this, but there's dim lighting. It's not as accessible. People aren't really frequenting the area during the day. So I think a project like this would really bring more life to the area and continue to make Bushwick flourish and bring a lot of community into the neighborhood. What else? I think also from an economic perspective, this would boost the local community. As we've heard as well, the WOVO project also supports the local artist community, which I think is really important and something that we should be supportive of. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. And next is Sean Segura.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sean Segura. I'm here supporting the WOVO project here. As you've heard, I'm going to probably repeat a lot of what people are saying, but I've been a resident of Williamsburg for about 15 years. I am a patron of the arts, a patron of restaurants. I am also an aspiring guitarist out there. As everyone said, when you get off the subway here or you walk down this block, it's a parking lot full of FedEx trucks. That's not enticing anybody to visit. This building alone, I mean, we can look at this picture. It looks beautiful, far better than a cement factory or an empty parking lot. We've heard from business owners that are excited to open restaurants and from artists who have benefited directly from the organization and would continue to flourish in the neighborhood. So I hope this happens. This cleans up the block quite a bit, and what that will do, especially coming right off of a subway, when people see that right off of a subway, they go tell their friends, they go tell their family, let's go check this out. if they get off a subway and it's an empty parking lot that's shadowy, smells like marijuana, is dirty, they're going home and saying, we're never coming back. And what that does for the community is it does not encourage restaurant owners to open businesses, art galleries to open businesses. It does not encourage, the arts to flourish at all. So I'm here in support of this project. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. This has exhausted the list of signups that we have. Is there anyone else that wishes to testify on this item?
Hearing no further comment, this item is now closed. Please call the second item.
Calendar item number 2, 58 Nixon Court rezoning 2, a zoning map amendment from an R5 in Special Ocean Parkway District to an R7A C24 and R7A Ocean Parkway District, and a zoning text amendment to Appendix F to map the project area as a mandatory inclusionary housing area to facilitate a new 8-story, 17,655 square foot mixed-use building with 16,847 square feet of residential floor area, with covering 19 units, 6 of which would be MIH, and 808 square feet of retail space is being sought at 58 Nixon Court in Gravesend, Community District 13, Brooklyn. Please state your name and present this application.
Thank you so much. Good evening. Elise Fullader from Eric Palatnik, PC. Am I doing this right? Do I click these 2 buttons? Sorry. Okay. Right. I can say which slides if that helps as well. Yeah, I can just let you know which slides, no problem. I wrote it down on my thing. Should I start?
Yep, whenever you're ready.
Okay, thank you so much. Good evening, Elise Fullader from Eric Palatnik, PC. We're seeking a rezoning map and zoning text amendment to facilitate a new mixed-use development in the Gravesend section of Brooklyn Community District 13. The proposal seeks a zoning map amendment from R5 to R7A C24 on block 7237, lots 61, 63, 64, and 65, which would be the development site, and a zoning map amendment from R5 to R7A on block 7238, lot 115, as well as an amendment for MIH, either option 1 or 2. The rezoning area is also in the Special Ocean Parkway District, which would remain. Currently, the proposed lots are a triangular assemblage of 4 vacant lots between Nixon Court and Shore Parkway. And I guess next slide. Thank you so much. The proposed action would facilitate a new 8-story and cellar building on the development site with 17,655 zoning square feet, 5.01 FAR. The proposed development would include approximately 16,847 square feet, 4.78 FAR of residential space, and approximately 108 square feet, approximately 0.23 FAR of local retail space on the ground floor. In addition, the ground floor would provide 7 attended parking spaces, which would be made accessible through a single curb cut located in the rear of the building. The proposed new building would contain a total of 19 dwelling units with 6 affordable units under MIH. or 4, depending on which ultimate MIH compliance option that is chosen. Slide 4. Thank you. The proposal was subject to a rezoning that was certified in 2022 that was later withdrawn. In this new application, the applicant team tried to address the concerns that had come up, including building size, ground floor commercial uses, more parking, construction concerns, enhancing the sustainability features, providing a landscape space at the corner, and not permitting the enlargement of the adjacent building. And if you can read these items, they go into more detail on the slide. Apologies if you can't see them. Next slide. This is a comparison of the existing zoning, the proposed zoning, and the proposed, which I just went through. Next slide. Okay. At this time, the commercial tenant is not finalized, but it is intended to house a use that would serve residents of the proposed development and surrounding community, such as a convenience store, pharmacy, deli, eating or drinking establishment. And you can see across the street is the hospital. So all of those uses would support anyone working in the hospital. Next slide, please. A concern that had come up in the previous application was the site next door not making it any larger, and the applicant owner has no relation with the apartment building at 2650 Ocean Parkway. The apartment building would not be allowed to be enlarged in any way. 2650 Ocean Parkway already exceeds the maximum permitted zoning, and so it would just be brought into further compliance. Now, slide 13 with the neighborhood characters. Thank you. The proposed map amendment from R5 to R7A and R7A C24 is necessary to facilitate the productive use of the development site. Currently, the R5 district permits a maximum of 1.5 FAR in the special district. The proposed R7A district would result in an appropriate increase in permitted density for this location. And as it is located on a wide avenue, Ocean Parkway, which is 210 in width, in the immediate proximity to Shore Parkway. The proposed R7A district would permit an appropriate amount of density in the area, as the area to the west of the rezoning contains a high concentration of apartment buildings that rise to 6 stories and beyond. In addition, Coney Island Hospital is present immediately to the east and rises 14 stories. Further, the northern end of the rezoning area is improved with a 12-story residential apartment, and the proposed zoning amendment would serve to reduce the degree of noncompliance. As the proposed R7A MIH district would permit a maximum density of 5.01 FAR and 115 feet, it is believed that the proposed district would be more consistent with the surrounding area compared to the underlying R5 district. The proposed C2 district commercial overlay is well suited for the area as well, as it is designed for dense transit-accessible locations with reduced parking requirements. A ground floor commercial space would allow a restaurant or deli that could serve the hospital across the street. Please go to slide 16. Okay, so these are the renderings. Go to the next. Sorry, just want you to see the building. Next. Okay, I'm looking for something that shows the top next. I think that one does. Yes, thank you. As you can see, a recreation private open space area would be featured on the rooftop, which I think would be nice. And then there's that small little triangle that would have a little outdoor space for people. And then the next set of slides is just an appendix, including photographs and plans that are included if there's any questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your presentation. Could you talk about the unit sizes in your project?
I guess go to the plan. Yeah, sorry, you can see the unit sizes. So there's 19 units that would be a mix. But there's 1 bedrooms, 2 and studios. I think there might have been a slide back there, but it would be 19 units that have a mix of. You can see the second floor has a 2 1s and a studio, and then there's a 2, a 1, and a studio on the 3rd to 6th floor.
Thank you. How would the affordable housing produced by this project compare to the existing affordable housing available in this community district?
So if you go to slide 12, thank you so much. Hopefully it opens. Well, if slide 12 opens, it'll show that Community District 13 has 22 MIH units to date. And the proposed development, 6 MIH units would equate to a 3% increase in the community district's MIH units. And also that there is a strong majority of housing in this area that is not income restricted and it is identified as having the second highest level of displacement. So this would add the MIH units and help displacement, hopefully.
And could you talk about the proposed parking as part of this proposal? Is that in excess of what is required by the zoning resolution? And would the applicant be able to add any additional residential floor area, either in the form of more units or larger unit sizes, if the parking was reduced?
Thank you. So there is excess because it would be waived, but we have included 7 parking spaces. That was discussed with the community board, so it's something we really tried to add, but this building is to capacity, so no, we could not add any additional residential units. It would not be possible because our zoning floor area is at capacity.
And could you speak to the project's compliance with zoning for coastal resiliency?
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, this job complies with all flood area requirements per Appendix G and the zoning for flood coastal flood resiliency. The residential lobby and all the mechanical equipment are above the base flood elevation by 2 feet, which is the building code requirement, and the foundation is dry flood proof to the same elevation as mentioned. Sorry, I did not mention it above. The foundation is dry flood proofed, and any entrances, exits at the grade for the commercial use will be equipped with flood barriers.
Thank you. This panel is now excused. We will now call for testimony on this application from members of the public in attendance this evening. Please note that all comments are limited to 2 minutes.
Mark Murnick.
Thank you. My name is Mark Murnick. I'm a community resident of CB 13 and I'm a member of the community board. Should I start? Waiting for your.
Go
now it's time.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I won't repeat that. I'm in opposition to this project. They came to the community board 2 years ago. The things they thought were our objections were not. And they basically just waited 2 years, brought the same proposal back. It was resoundingly defeated both in land use as well as the full community board. Issues were one of traffic, despite their statement. When you have a commercial space, you have deliveries, you have everything else. So this idea of magically no traffic and the city's wonderful idea of making some central location to drop everything off is unrealistic. The other now use groups for the particular commercial space, thanks to City of Yes, means this can be anything. There is no restrictions, and ULURPs don't have a condition that the community board can put on the ULURP. They can fundamentally do whatever they want. And I know traffic. I live in the area, and the supermarkets by me regularly just park across driveways, park across double, triple. Deliveries make this just an unrealistic item. I'm not construction, I'm not worried about, but those. It also concerned the community board that there was only one elevator. Several of the members of the board live in buildings, and regularly one of the 2 elevators in their building are out. And so if there's an emergency in this, you're in trouble. And thank you very much. We submitted written testimony for this.
Thank you.
Great. This exhausts our signups. Is there anyone else who would like to testify for this item?
Hearing no further comment, this item is now closed. Please call the 3rd agenda item.
Calendar item number 3, 464 Ovington Avenue rezoning, a zoning map amendment from R3X Bay Ridge District to R6A Bay Ridge Special District, and a zoning text amendment to Appendix F to map an MIH area to facilitate the development of an 8-story, 36,094 square foot residential building with approximately 40 apartments, approximately 10 of which would be MIH units, and 18 cellar level parking spaces, is being sought at 464 Ovington Avenue in Bay Ridge, Community District 10, Brooklyn. Please state your name and present this application.
Okay, good evening. Fan Baton from Shell Nobel PC for the applicant. Should I try to work this? It's not going to work? Okay, that's fine. So good evening, everyone. I'm here for the 464 Ovington rezoning. I will try to be brief and respect everyone's time. So just a little bit, next slide, please, about the project description, Geffen management. The applicant proposes the following land use actions: a zoning map amendment to change an existing R3X Special Bay Ridge District zoning district to an R6A district on a portion of Ovington Avenue between 4th and 5th Street, 4th and 5th Avenues, and a zoning text amendment to amend zoning resolution appendix F to designate the project area as a mandatory inclusionary housing area with both options, MIH options 1 and 2. The proposed actions would facilitate the development of a new 8-story plus cellar residential development with approximately 36,000 square feet, 3.9 FAR at 464 Ovington Avenue. The proposed development will include approximately 40 dwelling units, of which at least 10 would be permanently income restricted. The proposal will also provide 18 parking spaces. The proposed rezoning has received letters of support from local residents and businesses. The list is up there. I won't exhaust it. Next slide, please. This shows the zoning map. I know it's very difficult to see from here. Just to note that the development site of the project area is located in the Bay Ridge Special District. There's a bifurcation on the block. You have R7B to the west along 4th Avenue, and you have an R6B zoning district to the east along 5th Avenue. The R6A will kind of bridge these two zoning districts together. Next slide, please. Here's a better image of the proposed development site and rezoning area. The proposed rezoning area is in the dotted black lines, and the development site is in red. Which we'll show later on. There's a 6-story building existing on lot 36 and an existing 3-story building rent regulated on the eastern portion on lot 41. Just notice on the right that there's kind of like a jog in the district boundary. There's a slight portion of 4 lots along 5th Avenue that are included within the rezoning boundary just to provide consistency with 100-foot depth due to the split lot rules. Those lots will not be able to develop with the R6A zoning district. Next slide, please. Here we have an area map looking kind of at the appropriateness of the zoning district. You have 5th Avenue, a major thoroughfare, which is fairly close, a few steps away from the project area. 4th Avenue to the west, as I mentioned before, an R7B district, and where the subway line is located, approximately 1 block away. There's additionally bus service within the area. As you can see, both of the avenues have mixed residential and commercial uses with some community facility uses as well. Next slide, please. There we have some pictures of the project area to show the appropriateness within the district. As I mentioned before, there is an existing 6-story building next to the development site and a 3-story building on the other side that's rent regulated, and we don't see that to be developed. I could just scroll through the pictures, just showing the conditions. We can continue down a little bit more. I'm just going to go to the massing, which might be slide 13. Yeah. This just shows the basic massing of the development site. As you can see, it sets back as per zoning requirements, and also just in context with the neighboring 6-story building, we set back at the 6th floor. The proposed building is 8 stories in height, which maxes out the FAR. And then I think we could just go down to some of the elevations. maybe, yeah, 16, 17. Actually, slide 18 is good. Just to show the development site, and we could just end on 19. And that concludes my presentation. So we're here for any questions.
Thank you for your presentation. Could you walk through the proposed unit sizes of your project?
Sure. So as I mentioned before, there were 40 units. We have right now studios are approximately 400 to 485 square feet. One bedrooms are approximately 660 to 750 square feet, and two bedroom apartments are approximately 900 to 1200 square feet.
And if you were to include sort of more large 2 and 3 bedroom units, what sort of impact on the unit mix and the number of units might that have?
Sure. So part of our conversations with the community, we looked at different layouts as well. There could be a potential increase in family size units. It reduced the number of 1 bedrooms, but we provide more 2 bedrooms. It's just this is a little complicated site just due to the depth. So there are restrictions on how the units and the windows are located. So.
Okay. Can you speak to any comments or concerns that were raised during the community board review? How would any of those potential modifications discussed and preferred by the community board affect this project?
Yes. Okay. So we had 4 meetings with the community board 10. I noticed a lot of members here and neighbors here who are going to probably speak on this project as well. There were some members who spoke in favor, but most spoke against. Ultimately, the community board voted to disapprove the R6A, but recommended looking into an R6D zoning district. The main concerns were regarding height, impact on neighbors, and traffic, especially because there's a new high school located down the block. Throughout the community board process, the applicant spoke with neighbors regarding their concerns and started to discuss modifications to the building. Those conversations are ongoing. Regarding the height, we just wanted to note that the design is still kind of in line with the 6-story building nearby. It requires a setback as per the zoning. CB10 recommended an R6D zoning district to control the height to 75 feet. Just to note that the R6A permits 95 feet, but the building was already maxed out at 8 stories. The R6D district only permits a 3.0 FAR compared to the 3.9 of an R6A, which on the size of this lot would lose approximately 8,334 square feet of floor area, which is approximately 9 to 12 dwelling units, including affordable units. So we're still ongoing with conversations with local stakeholders. Yeah.
And then could you talk about the proposed project impact on affordable housing production in this community district?
Sure. So according to the Furman Center, between 2010 and 2024, there were approximately 431 units built in Community Board 10, of which almost all of them, 99%, were market rate. It's estimated that none of these units are for low-income households with 80% AMI or less. So this proposal provides a unique opportunity to provide at least 10 permanently income-restricted units within the neighborhood.
Thank you. The panel is now excused.
Thank you.
We will now call for testimony on this application from members of the public who are in attendance. Please note that all comments are limited to 2 minutes.
First, we'll have District Manager Josephine Beckman.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Josephine Beckman. I am the District Manager of Community Board 10, and I'm here this evening to present the motion and recommendation submitted by Community Board 10. At a duly publicized meeting of CB10, board members voted to disapprove the application to rezone 464 Ovington Avenue from R3X to R6A because the proposed 85-foot building height and overall bulk are incompatible with the surrounding block and neighborhood character. The adopted motion did acknowledge the applicant's effort to incorporate community feedback and recognizes the need for increased housing supply. The board recommends that the applicant explore rezoning to the R6D or another alternative that would lower height and scale while still allowing meaningful residential development more consistent with community context. Throughout the public process, committee members appreciated the applicant's willingness to revise the design. The modifications were generally viewed as thoughtful and constructive by committee and several community members. Several residents recognized the revised plans as an initial step in the right direction. Concerns about scale and precedent remained unresolved. The board in its recommendation emphasized the urgent need for additional housing in Community Board 10 and across the city, while noting that the existing R3X zoning constrains the ability to meet that demand. While it was noted that Ovington Avenue was previously zoned to R6 and R5 before the R3X designation, the current R6A zoning, particularly under the City of Yes provisions, was considered too permissive for the block, allowing for a 95-foot structure as of right, with no formal mechanism for design oversight. The committee and the board specifically pointed to the R6D as a recommendation which supports increased housing while imposing a more moderate height limit and floor area ratio, potentially better aligned with the block's character and infrastructure capacity. While not familiar with every zoning option, the committee expressed interest in exploring additional designations that could achieve a more appropriate balance. The board also expressed frustration with ULURP limitations. Community members expressed frustration that stipulations made during ULURP are not binding. Once rezoned, the development is governed solely by the zoning resolution regardless of plans presented. The committee also noted that practical challenges developers face in balancing scale with financial viability and understands that not all alternatives may be feasible. Nevertheless, the board encouraged the applicant to consider other zoning designations. Thank you for your consideration.
May I ask you one follow-up question?
Yes.
In terms of the height at 75 feet for the R6D, is that a height that would, based on the conversation at the community board, be something that would be amenable to the neighborhood?
Yes, specifically for the immediate building next door, which has side windows. And is a 6-story, we felt that a reduction in height would really greatly assist.
And is it particularly on that sort of edge? There's not a side setback to the building. So in some cases, the building could continue to moderate its massing to take more of that allowable height, but pull its mass away from the building. Is that something, or is it the overall height, or is it the proximity to the building that is more?
Well, I think it was a little both. It was the proximity to the next door building, the scale of the street, the impact to the immediate neighbors, as well as the streetscape.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for the follow-up and your thoughtfulness in crafting a recommendation.
Okay, next we will have Victoria Hoffmo, followed by Nora Blake.
Hello. I'm going to give you a quote from one of our neighbors. I moved to Bay Ridge 10 years ago. It is the last bastion of affordable housing in the city. And so I love that quote. And one of the reasons I'm against the proposal is because this actually makes things less affordable. The other thing is Bay Ridge is a very mixed community economically. It's mixed ethnically, it's mixed by age, and it's very unusual in the city. And we want to maintain that, but we need to have a balance between the residents and community facilities and businesses. And I did work on the rezoning that we had painstakingly. We went block by block, tried to preserve what already existed and find that balance. And I feel like the developer negates what we, codified and sets a precedent for other people to do the same to break this. I don't think you realize what's going on Ovington Avenue. Across the street are one-family homes. This is a historic Ovington Village block. And so on the block are 2 schools. There's a school across the street less than half a block away, and they're building a high school on the same block. That's 4 schools in less than half a block radius. It doesn't exist anywhere in the city that I can find, and there's a reason for that. Also, the Ovington corridor between 4th and Ovington is something we've been looking at. I live a block away in a co-op. Many of my co-op members and renters are concerned about that. We have a day program a few blocks away. We have the school down the block doubled their size. The school up the block was put in. There's NYU put an ambulatory service around the corner 2 blocks away, and we have another high school right across the street from that, and they're planning homeless shelter across from that. So that whole corridor is really being very stressed. And so we're missing the balance between the community that way. It actually chips away at the affordability at Bay Ridge. The inclusionary housing, I looked at the rates. It's about 30% more than what the rents are in Bay Ridge. I found an apartment right down the block in a row house, which goes for about $2,500 a month. So this project actually makes every square foot of property more expensive, thus pushing up our rents on our very high real estate taxes. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
So next we will have Nora Blake, followed by John P. Murphy. Thanks.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Nora Blake. I am a member of the board of 460 Ovington Avenue Co-op. I'm also a shareholder in the building, and I am vehemently against and opposed to the current rezoning process as it currently stands. I'm really looking forward to hearing from our other board members and other community members on their opinions on this issue, because I think we will all be more or less in accordance and in unison. This project and this undertaking will seriously compromise the character, the future of our neighborhood. And I don't think it's something that will ultimately improve upon the community that we've all built over the years and that we hope to continue to build. Again, I'm going to lean on the majority of my co-op board members to give some more of the particulars, because they are the experts in this. But again, as a resident and as hopefully a future resident for years to come, I would not want to live on the block with all of these other things going on at the same time. I'm not going to give an exact estimate, but that looks to be anywhere from 5 to 10 additional years of construction on my block. And that's something that I really don't want to be a neighbor to. It's going to very much affect every aspect of living. And so again, just to kind of summarize, this is not something that I can speak for myself. I'm very much in opposition to, and again, just don't think it's a great use of that space. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
So next we have John P. Murphy, followed by Shelley Hamilton.
Okay, good evening, everyone. John P. Murphy here. That's Patrick. I'm a lifelong Brooklyn resident and the past president of the Brooklyn Letter Carriers Union. And I'm living in Bay Ridge for 38 years. I live at 610 Ovington. And there's a reason why they call Bay Ridge, it's a small town in a big city. That's what Councilman Brannan calls it. And this upscale, or this variance to go to a higher level, to me, will destroy the integrity of the neighborhood and its architecture. I'm retired now, and I do walk around the neighborhood more often than I once did. It's good to walk. And you see a lot of things that I didn't see in the past. And Bay Ridge is a great community. If those of you who haven't been down there, just take a walk from 4th Avenue to the waterfront down by the harbor, 69th Street Pier. It's one of the best last neighborhoods in Brooklyn. That is a legacy neighborhood. And my son actually is going to be moving back to Bay Ridge this Thursday, along with his wife and my grandson, to 74th Street. So there's a reason why he's moving back. And that's because they both grew up. My son and my daughter-in-law both grew up in Bay Ridge. And they're returning because of the community, the businesses, and the architecture, and the low scale of the neighborhood. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So next we have Shelley Hamilton, who will be followed by Molly Jackson.
Hi, I'm Shelley Hamilton. I reside at 460 Ovington with my family. I'm also a member of the board of 460 Ovington as a shareholder. I want to start by saying I'm not against developing on this space. I was very excited to see housing coming to the neighborhood in empty and defunct lots. I'm just against the zoning, for the purpose that we're here. I find that large buildings giving 25% affordable housing is not going to put the dent in the affordability of the housing crisis that we have in New York City currently. I would personally be more amenable to this and more open-minded if it was pushed to 40%, which I know is a number being floated with the city as well. So
The price point outside of this mandate is not comparable to the neighborhood currently, and it would just allow the market to eventually force out this very community that they say that they want to support. My kids go to school in the neighborhood. I want to stay in the neighborhood. I don't want to see their friends being pushed out either. So, the current proposal for the request in zoning does not give a promise of vitality to the area, but will put a strain on our infrastructure and the prices and for the people it intends to serve. So, I see around Brooklyn, when we go to other neighborhoods, there tends to be a plague of large luxury developments that tower over previously undisrupted neighborhoods that serve as macabre skeletons on display of ventures that may or may not fail. And the goal should not to grow big and grow giant and cross your fingers that the market will support it, but to grow smart and to grow fair. And I know that's easier said than done, but in the event of the current housing crisis that we have to fight as hard as we can to make it work for everyone and keep everyone in the neighborhood that wants to be there. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Next, we'll have Molly Jackson, followed by Nick DeSeglia.
Good evening. My name is Molly Jackson. I am also a resident of 460 Ovington, as well as a member of the board. I agree with my co-board member, Shelley, that we are happy that this lot is being developed. It is a derelict house. However, it is too tall of a structure. I live in the area and I walk to work not that far away in Sunset Park. And every day I see cars blocking the street, pulling up because of the schools. And I'm not opposed to parents dropping off their kids. It's great. But we have another high school on the way, and that's going to be buses. We have the Lutheran school, which is an elementary school through middle school, I believe. We have another elementary school. We have the middle school across the street. And now we want to add 40 apartments potentially. It's a lot. They're going to have parking spots underneath. We already don't have parking in the area. The other day I saw an ambulance get stuck for a good 5-10 minutes because a car was blocking the road. It's already so congested in the neighborhood. Adding more congestion just is dangerous. We have a major hospital nearby. We have the ambulatory service nearby. It's dangerous, and it's something that we really need to be considerate of. That being said, again, if we can find a way to make this work, I would love that, because I do want to see that lot developed. We do need more housing that is in line with the needs of Bay Ridge, but not necessarily in line with the needs of a luxury large building. Thank you.
I have one small question for you if you want to stay at the podium. When you talk about the needs that are affecting Bay Ridge, what types of housing needs are those? Is there a need for ownership units? Is it size? Can you provide any additional context on the types of things that you might want to see here?
Okay. Well, I've only been in Bay Ridge for about 2 years. The one thing I will say is there are a lot of families, which makes me think we do need large apartments. We need 2, 3, 4 bedrooms, which are anything above a 1 bedroom with a home office is a scarcity in New York. I also think we do need to address the car situation in Bay Ridge. It has become untenable. I've lived in Bay Ridge. I bought my first apartment. My mother's only been in it once because she can never find a parking spot, and she refuses to take the subway. So it's one of those things of that's ridiculous. Building up ownership, because right now the rents in this apartment, the market rate rents, are less than I pay for my mortgage and maintenance. It was cheaper for me to own something, and I was lucky I was able to, than it is for people to rent an apartment right now. That's insane. And not to mention my apartment is about 200 square feet larger than the 1 bedrooms that they proposed. So who's winning here? And yes, not everyone can own, not everyone wants to own, but we need a different answer to the needs of Bay Ridge and probably the city.
Thank you for offering a little bit more context to your point. Thank you for your testimony.
Next, we have Nick DeSeglia.
Good evening, and thank you for letting us speak tonight. My name is Nick DeSegli. I'm a resident shareholder and board member at 460 Ovington, which is a 5-story co-op building with a basement built in 1931, and it's part of the proposed rezoning. I stand before you today to express my strong opposition to the proposed rezoning of Ovington Avenue. In addition to our personal concerns about light and air flow to our own building, the changes pose several significant concerns for our community. First, the increase in traffic on the very busy, narrow street will be virtually unsustainable. The city has already approved construction of a 700-seat District 75 high school with only one frontage on our block. This block already has 3 other schools in addition to that high school. This will necessitate substantial bus access throughout the day, exacerbating congestion and posing safety risks for the children of the schools as well as the residents. Second, the proposed building is set to add 40 additional units with only 18 proposed on-site parking spaces. That leaves 22 residential units without any parking provisions, which will further strain our already limited parking resources. The loss of parking due to the required school zones will only compound this issue, making it increasingly difficult for residents to find parking. Third, the proposed R6A height of 95 feet is out of character with the neighborhood. It will tower over our already tall building by almost 30 feet and by the rest of the neighborhood by almost 60 feet. This threatens to overshadow our community's unique charm and architecture, which we have cherished for decades. Lastly, there are alternative zoning options already available that align more closely with Bay Ridge's special district, specifically R5B, which is used mid-block in the 70s in our neighborhood, and R6B, which is used in other parts of Ovington Avenue, which are considerably more consistent with the neighborhood. Although I understand the need for additional housing, I believe this proposal for this particular block will do more harm than good. I urge you to consider these points seriously and preserve the integrity and livability of our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
We've exhausted the list of signups. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak on this item? Yes, if you could just state your name before speaking.
Hi, my name is Lisa Croyne. I also live at 460 Ovington. In addition to what everyone has said about this ridiculous proposal, that it's too big, it doesn't fit on this block, it creates all this congestion in an already highly congested, fairly narrow street. One of the other things that it does is, if you see the other side of the building, we have a vacant lot. That is what my window looks out onto. And when I moved here 10 years ago, there was a house there that was then torn down in the first couple of years. And it's just been this vacant lot since. And what this proposal does is it sets a precedent. If that goes up, then the same thing is happening on the other side. Now, selfishly, I don't want this to happen because I have a beautiful corner apartment that looks onto trees on both sides, which is my favorite thing about the apartment. But even not selfishly, it's like this block should not have 2 huge buildings on it. And a lot of the people here live on this block, but if you haven't been on this block, you should go walk down and see what it looks like. This would be completely out of place. I'm not against building housing. I just think that this block is not the place for it. I don't even think there should be a 4-story building there. I think there should be a house there, which is what there is now. Replace it with a different house. There's plenty of places in Bay Ridge for big buildings like this. Go to Shore Road and build over there where there are huge tacky mansions. There's other places. We don't need it here. I really strongly oppose this. Thank you.
I have one small set of questions for if you want to stay at the podium. How tall is 460 Ovington? Is it 4 stories? 5 stories with a basement. And so by the 1931 building, that's correct. So if your neighbor had built the building that you're in next to you, you would be opposed to that.
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to
yes,
clarify
I'm on the 4th floor.
Yeah.
And I also don't want trees cut down, yeah, I just don't want I don't mind something being built there, but
Mhm.
not anything looking like this.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your testimony.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this item?
Oh, please approach the podium and state your name for the record.
Good evening. My name is Maya Stewart. I live on 72nd Street between 4th and 5th Avenue, which is, my address is 464, ironically. It's right around the corner. I've been there for 45 years and in Bay Ridge for about 60 years. I see a drastic change. My motto is always change, if you change, not for change's sake, but change to make better. A lot of these stories that are going up, especially this 8-story, would not be beneficial for the community. My children went to school around the corner. I hear day in and day out the blowing of the horns, the people yelling. Everybody is double parked on now 5th Avenue. So you have 5th Avenue, 72nd, and Ovington, and you have 4th Avenue, and you have the schools there. I hear this all day long. It's a nightmare there as far as congestion goes. Like I said, that street is very, very narrow. My children went to school there at the Lutheran school. Picking up the children, you cannot even get by that street. Between the trucks coming through, the people, I don't know where they're going to park their cars. I mean, my son came in from Boston. Do you know he was ready to go back to Boston? 2 hours on a Sunday to find parking spot. 2 hours. He was livid, and not on the right side, on the wrong side, because he has no problem getting up 6 in the morning to move it. So we have a big park. In my block, there are businesses on 4th Avenue that have delivery every day, and the trucks are from one end to the other. On my block, I couldn't believe what I saw one day. The other side of the street, cars were double parked from 4th to 5th Avenue. I was ready to call the precinct, but I don't know what help that would do. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. One additional call for any additional testimony from anyone who is in attendance. Did you? You can submit it in writing, or I will stay after and we can talk. Hearing no further comment, this item is now closed. Please call the 4th item.
Calendar item number 4, 5502 Flatlands Avenue rezoning, a private application for a zoning map amendment to rezone an R32 district to an R6A district with a C24 commercial overlay, and a zoning text amendment to designate an MIH area, all to facilitate a new 7-story, 49,637 square foot mixed-use building, including 7,399 square feet of commercial retail space and 36 dwelling units and 15 parking spaces, being sought at 5502 Flatlands Avenue and Flatlands Community District 18, Brooklyn. Please state your name and present this application.
Thank you. Adam Rothkrug, Inspector. Is this not going to work or? Yeah? Okay. This will probably last for a while. So I'm here in connection with the proposed rezoning of property at 5502 Flatlands Avenue between East 55th and East 56th in Community District number 18. The site, as you can see, is an irregular triangular property, approximately 13,000 square foot in area. It's been vacant for at least a couple decades, I believe, and it's currently zoned R32. We're proposing a change to R6 with a C24 overlay and an MIH designation, R6A. The R6A would permit a mixed-use building with approximately 40,000 square feet of residential floor area, translating to 34 units, 25% of which 9 would be affordable. We originally were only proposing a commercial overlay, and it's our client's desire and intent to build a 1-story commercial retail building here. That's the business that they're in. Although that said, city planning believed due to this community district being underserved with affordable housing, as well as this location along a 100-foot wide Flatlands Avenue and opposite buildings that are up to 6-story, that the R6A was appropriate. We didn't disagree with them, but Community Board 18 was pretty firm. They have absolutely no problem with the commercial part of the project, but they were opposed to any residential aspect to it. The commercial development that we show, and you can scroll, I think, to the end where we have kind of the different buildings. Yeah, the last one is the residential building. The site really doesn't lay out well for residential development because of the triangular nature of it. You end up with, we did do floor plans, but they end up being pretty irregular. They are large units, which is good, but they are irregularly sized rooms and irregularly shaped rooms. The 1-story building would be about just under 10,000 square feet. No parking would be required. Flatlands Avenue is a 100-foot wide street with many existing commercial uses and commercial zoning, both north and south of the site. The current R32 is not really appropriate. Going back to the 1960s, this was a C or an M zone. There were a lot of auto uses. There are still some auto uses on this block. We limited, after meeting with city planning, if you want to go to the zoning change map, yeah, so we limited the zoning to just about our site. We do pick up portions of the adjacent lots up on the side street. Pretty much because, again, the community was concerned about not having any say on owners that would not be before them or part of the application process, as well as, again, being generally opposed to residential development. The site immediately to the east of us is a large site. If you go to the one of the early photos, yeah, one of those, yeah. Yeah, so you can see the site on your right there is a large site, commercial, existing legal commercial development. And my understanding is that they're exploring a residential overlay, but getting pushback, as I said, from the community. So we are not opposed to residential development. We looked at the Borough Presidents Comprehensive Plan, which shows that this district is underserved with housing in general, very low growth of housing in the area, not a lot of affordable housing. I don't know if this is the right site for it, just because it doesn't lay out. And again, the question is whether or not you can overcome the community will not to have to stop any kind of large-scale residential housing. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Could you speak to the sort of specifics of the concerns that were raised during community board review and what your applicant team is prepared to do sort of in response to them? Sort of, is there any kind of restrictions or covenants or things that you all are considering?
Yeah, so essentially the civics is along with the community board, they would be happy to leave the R32 intact and have a commercial overlay on top of that. Again, they have no issue with the commercial overlay. Honestly, we're agnostic. We agree that we believe that residential would be appropriate here. You can see right across the street are 6-story residential buildings. But our main goal here was to get a commercial building. So obviously we don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. So we're open to suggestions. And again, I think the other issue is that the residential floor plate really doesn't lay out great just because of the unusual shape of the site. So right now the application again has the R6A. And I guess it'll be up to the powers that be, being city planning and the city council and the borough president to kind of decide whether or not the community is correct or not in opposing potential residential development.
And does the applicant have preferred MIH program for this? And has MIH 3 been considered as an option that might better match the existing incomes in the area?
Yeah, so we did propose originally 1 and 2. Generally, that seems to be what communities prefer, but we, again, if we can do residential here and that ends up being what's approved, we do not object to any of the options, actually.
And then lastly, when establishing the project area, were any of the adjacent blocks along Flatlands Avenue considered as well for a commercial overlay, considering the existing commercial uses?
Yeah, so along with city planning, actually, and you can see on this photo, really the only thing that was really considered was extending up East 56th Street. And again, the problem with, including other properties that you don't own or control is that, those people don't come before the community. They don't have to answer to the community as to what they are proposing to do in the community. We had very productive conversations with the civics and with the community board at 3 different hearings, and we know what they want there, and we can deliver that to them.
Following up on that, so just for the lot to the east in particular along Flatlands, with that already being a low-rise commercial development, would extending just only the commercial overlay, not a residential district, would that serve to, that would just serve to legalize the existing use, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And again, I think more, I don't know if city planning would want to look at that without seeing that as an opportunity for affordable housing there. But it wouldn't. It's legal as is. I don't know whether it's grandfathered or a variance, but so they don't need our help. It would bring it into conformance, but it wouldn't really allow them to do anything more.
And then lastly, have you considered any alternative sort of second or third floor uses other than residential? Are there programs that your client has done, either whether that's, second story retail or office space, or other sort of uses that might be viable?
Yeah, I guess at the time they'll see what kind of the demand is. I mean, there are some second floor commercial uses that might be viable. Some small office space or educational center or something like that would be typical second floor. So that's not off the table, but. Yeah, a lot of the development along Flatlands, the commercial is similar to this one-story kind of commercial.
Okay, thank you. The panel is now excused.
Thank you very much.
We will now call for testimony on this application for members of the public who are in attendance. Please note that all comments are limited to 2 minutes.
First, we will call District Manager Sue-Ann Partnow.
Hi, my name is Sue-Ann Partnow. I'm the District Manager of Community Board 18. On Wednesday, June 18, 2025, Community Board 18 voted 35 yes and 1 abstention votes to approve a zoning application to add a C24 commercial overlay to the property at 5502 Flatlands Avenue to permit development of a one-story retail building. The owner's request was modified by the Department of City Planning to propose a rezoning to R6A and to add to the mapping mandatory inclusionary housing. As a practical matter, the members of Community Board 18 believe that a modest one-story commercial building along Flatlands Avenue provides continuity in the neighborhood with the existing stores along that corridor. The irregular configuration of the site does not lend itself to residential use. Has anyone from city planning considered what a 6-story residential building would mean to our area? There is no on-site parking, which means more congestion and traffic on Flatlands Avenue. There are frequent blackouts, 3 in the last 3 months, an already overwhelmed sewer system that causes street flooding. No, this is not the place to add a 6-story building. Nobody is more familiar with the neighborhood than the people that live in it. The members of Community Board 18, the civic associations, and the residents ask the Borough President to support us in keeping the commercial corridor on Flatlands Avenue just that, a commercial corridor, allowing only a 1-story retail building at 5502 Flatlands Avenue. And by the way, if you're talking about the 6-story buildings that are nearby, that is the Glenwood Housing Development, and that's on Glenwood Road, Avenue H, 56th Street, on Ralph Avenue. Thank you.
Before you leave the podium, sorry, could you talk about the commercial district along Flatlands? Could you talk about the commercial district along Flatlands in terms of the other typologies of buildings? There are some commercial buildings with residential above, very modest.
There's mostly 1-story strip buildings. As a matter of fact, our councilwoman is in one of those buildings.
Yes.
There is very few residential areas along that corridor. So to say that this is something that's going to fit in with the neighborhood, it's out of character. There are no 6 or 8-story buildings anywhere within the Flatlands Avenue area.
Okay, thank you.
Pardon. Next, we'll have Christina Phillips.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Christina Phillips. I'm here representing Assemblywoman Jamie Williams' office. Assemblywoman could not be here tonight, but she could have been here. Regarding the 5502 rezoning on Flatlands Avenue, she opposes of it. And also she would like to stand behind her constituents and ask that if their concerns be valued in this decision-making. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Next, we will call Jewel Stout. Will be followed by Johnny Arsentalis.
Thank you. My name is Jewel Stout, and I am a member of the Flatlands Civic Association, as well as a resident of the area. And on Flatlands Avenue, in that vicinity, there are just commercial spaces. There's no residential above the commercial spaces that are there. Right now, we have problems with parking. The traffic on Flatlands Avenue is just terrible. So if we added the 7-story building to that neighborhood, it would cause a lot of problems again. Like the district manager said, there's problem with brownouts in the area. There's the flooding. There's problems with the sewers. So we would appreciate it if the Borough President and City Planning would take into consideration our concerns and just leave it as a commercial space. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Next, we have Johnny Arsentalis, who will be followed by Tomas Hernandez.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity. How are you?
That's fine.
In regards to this project and what has been proposed, a couple of questions have come into my mind. First of all, knowing that the area has problems with sinkholes, has there been a geological study for sinkholes to provide the infrastructure for this a proposal of six stories for resident use and the commercial use? Has there been a study in terms of what the electrical requirement would be for this building of that magnitude from the Con Edison or any other electrical entities? We have been having within the month of June about 3 or 4 blackouts. That means that the electrical infrastructure is not there to allow another structure that is going to be fitting this particular building. Has there been any study in terms of the water and sewer upgrade situation? We have in that vicinity a water treatment plant that only is capable of taking care of what they have there right now. There is no additional infrastructure to allow for new structures to come in and plug into that system. There's no, in the presentation that was given to us, there was no opportunity for the vehicular appropriations. There is no parking space in the area at all to support the other 36 housing units that you're proposing to have there. And finally, there's no study in terms of the transportation infrastructure, buses or train systems to accommodate this additional personnel. I used to like one of our borough presidents, Mr. Markowitz, but he sold us out to the developers as it is in lower parts of Brooklyn. And that is not good. This is happening again, and I'm opposed to that. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony.
Next is Tomas Hernandez.
Good evening. My name is Tomas Hernandez. I am chairman of the Planning and Zoning Committee of Community Board 18, in which Sue Ann testified earlier. She was district manager. The reason we disapproved, we approved the one-story commercial piece of this development, but disapproved totally the additional residential piece, 6-story piece, for the obvious reason of bulk and scale. Along Flatlines Avenue, I never looked at the definition of why it was called Flatlines Avenue, but it's pretty clear. It's pretty flat. One-story structures throughout. Anyone driving through Flatlines Avenue will see it's just basically one-story retail businesses along that corridor. And adding the 6-story structure of apartments would just totally out of scale, and the bulk would hurt the community in terms of character. And our committee voted against it at our committee meetings and at the full board. And I hope the residential part doesn't move forward. The commercial part, the one-story commercial part, we approve of with no problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any additional testimony for this item?
Hearing none, this item is now closed. Please call the 5th item.
Calendar item number 5, 699-703 Lexington Avenue rezoning, a private application for a zoning map amendment from R6B to R6A and a zoning text amendment to Appendix F to map an MIH area in order to facilitate a new 6-story, 31,704 square foot nonprofit institution with sleeping accommodations containing 85 transitional shelter units at 699-703 Lexington Avenue in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Community District 3, Brooklyn. Please state your name and present this application.
Hi, thank you. Ben Stark from Hirsch & Singer Epstein. I'm joined today by Danielle Pagnota from Providence House, the applicant for this project. I'm also joined by Kimberly Murphy from ESKW Architects. As you introduced, this is an application for a rezoning on Lexington Avenue that will partially rezone an existing property owned by Providence House from an R6B district to an R6A. I'm moving quickly because I want to hand it off to Danielle, who's going to just speak for a bit about the organization, about the program for this proposed building. Then we'll return a little bit to some more of the technical details about the rezoning itself and the building. So Danielle, thank you.
Thank you. My name is Danielle Manelli Pagnotta, and I'm the Executive Director at Providence House. I've been with the organization almost 8 years. Thank you, Mr. Byrd and Mr. Williams, for the opportunity to talk about our project tonight. Providence House is a nonprofit organization that has been in Brooklyn over 45 years. We focus on working with women and families who have histories of homelessness and incarceration. We do this work by providing both transitional and permanent housing, and we wrap around intensive support services through a trauma-informed lens. Currently, we have 9 residences in operation, 8 of which are in Brooklyn. Our roots run deep in Brooklyn, and we were started there back in 1979. One of the most important components to the work that we do is that we're small scale. I have a history of working in homeless services and know what it's like to bring about larger scale projects. And this is not a large scale project. This is a project that's meant to serve a unique population of women who are vulnerable, who are re-entering the community. Providence House's largest program is a 59 family site out in East New York, and our smallest, we have 2 small buildings, one in New Rochelle that serves 10 families, and one also located in Bed-Stuy that also serves 10 families. We thrive on providing community-based peer support within our residences, and the scale of what we do is what makes us most successful. We're about women lifting women up. In our Women's Justice Program, we are proud to report a non-recidivism rate of over 97%, I should say. And also in our shelter programs among our peers, we always kind of lead in terms of being able to report return people to permanent housing. We do believe that housing is the answer to many of the challenges that the city's facing. Again, we have been at this site in particular for over 20 years. It both serves as our Women's Justice Program right now and our administrative hub. And you'll see that we purposely share the space with the women who are coming through our programs. We feel that the site is a major stabilizing factor for the women who come through. And I'm really excited to have Ben and Kimberly kind of talk through the technical details and the space that we've spent several years creating with many of our residents a part of that. Thank you.
We move ahead to, let's try right there. So, let's skip past this. Next slide. So Providence House's existing properties on the north side of Lexington Avenue between Stuyvesant and Malcolm X are currently, next slide, actually, split between 3 individual properties. To the west, we at 699 through 701 Lex, we have 2 existing 4-story walk-up buildings pre-war that Providence House has been using as part of their existing transitional facility. To the east at 703 Lex is Providence House's existing headquarters. Next slide. In order to facilitate the project, these properties are proposed to be merged together into a single parcel. And although it's not apparent to those in the crowd, given the sort of the size of the font on the screen, but currently Providence House's westernmost property at 699 Lex is zoned R6A. This is the zoning classification moving up and down Stuyvesant Avenue. Next slide, please. The proposed rezoning would, in a sense, bend this line, would pull the existing R6A district about 100 feet to the east to capture the totality of Providence House's holdings in order to facilitate the proposed project that we're going to introduce in more detail in just a little bit. This R6A district is not consistent moving up and down Stuyvesant Avenue. As you can see there in the existing zoning map on the left, it's sort of a bit of a sawtooth pattern, dipping in and out of side streets, and in some cases running entirely along east-west side streets. And in general, it's a zoning sort of framework here that was adopted in years past to try to mimic the existing built condition of these pre-war properties, but there is some irregularity to that. As I mentioned, Providence House is 4-story walk-up buildings walk-up building that is outside of this R6A district is probably more in keeping with an R6A district as opposed to 6B. We believe wholeheartedly that the pulling of this 6A district just a little bit to the east to facilitate the proposed building is in keeping with that sort of existing walk-up character that the prior neighborhood-wide rezoning was trying to emulate. Next slide. And you'll see that character here up on this image on the screen. On the northeast corner of Stye and Lex, you have an existing 4-story walk-up building, Providence House's walk-ups just to the east of that, and new contextual R6A development starting to appear there on the northwest corner of Stye and Lex. Next slide, please. And finally, the proposed building, our 6-story, approximately 36,000 square foot transitional housing facility, only about 2 stories taller than the existing walk-up that I just mentioned there on the corner. I'm going to hand it off now to Kimberly, who's going to walk through the program, the interior program building.
Good evening, Kimberly Murphy, partner at ESKW Architects. We've been studying this site on behalf of Providence House for several years now, and the existing site could accommodate a certain smaller program that proved to be sort of unfundable. So what we did is we spent a lot of time looking at the existing properties. We looked at renovating, we looked at additions, we ran all the numbers, and it only worked to combine the 3 lots and to merge the 3 lots and extend the zoning district of R6A to encompass the entire property. So we did an exhaustive we went through a process of engaging with community members, residents who have gone through this program before, and the staff and the board, and we came up with a plan that accommodated this program. So we'll just go to the next plan. What's important about the first floor is just that the offices and the residents use the same entrance. It's a very connected program administratively with all of the residents. So there'll be 2 floors of office. We'll go to the next floor on the first and the cellar, and then each of the upper floors sort of create this dumbbell shape of residential living, and each resident will have their own room, which has been key to their successful return to back from incarceration.
Thank you. So I'll just close by saying that it's a significant milestone for us as an organization. This is our biggest asset, and we really wanted to make the best use of it for the work that we've done for so long. There are 2 existing programs like this for men in New York City, but none for women, as that's our target population. We felt really strongly to make use of our resource in the best way that we could for our population. And we're just trying to make the best impact that we can with the space. So thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for your presentation. We have a couple of questions for the applicant team. Would this project have been possible before the Bed-Stuy North rezoning?
It's possible, but not likely. When we thought about this question, went back and looked, what was the zoning in place prior to the neighborhood rezoning? It was an R6 general district, but even prior to the neighborhood rezoning, there were limitations on the amount of zoning square footage. So I should say that a general R6 district does have a higher maximum permitted FAR for community facility uses generally. In fact, notably more FAR than what the current rezoning is seeking at about would be maximum FAR of 3.6 for residential uses, 3.0 for community facility uses. Prior to the neighborhood rezoning, you could build a community facility use to 4.8 FAR, but there were limitations on the maximum FAR for community facility uses with sleeping accommodations. You could only build to about 2.43. So it's the current proposals, sleeping floors total at about 2.7 or 2.8 FAR. So when I say perhaps, I say that there could have been a project, but maybe not this exact project. It could have been like a slightly smaller version of this, but not quite this.
And then is this project, proposed project, using any new zoning tools that were introduced by the City of Yes for housing opportunity?
At this juncture, we think the answer is actually going to be no. And this is something that is a little disappointing to us, and we think might have been a bit of an oversight during the City of Yes process. Those of us in the development community have been spending the last few months really learning about, the impact of City of Yes. And one of the most notable impacts has been on the new zoning deductions, zoning floor area deductions that are incentivizing sort of superior interior spaces. They're incentivizing much more sustainable development through requirements or incentives to build buildings that are more, closer to what like a passive house design.
Yes.
Those zoning deductions, however, which are clearly available for residential developments, the way the definitions work in the zoning are a little too tailored when it comes to community facility uses that have a sleeping component. And the way that we're reading this right now is we're not sure that a project like this can avail itself of those zoning deductions, and the impact is maybe 5 to 7% square footage. Is basically a similarly sized residential building could from a gross standpoint be something like 5 to 7% larger. We don't really believe that the city council and the planners at city planning intended for transitional housing facilities to not be able to take advantage of those zoning deductions. There's so many other types of mission-driven like supportive housing developments and affordable developments that are able to take advantage of those deductions. So, it's just something that we want to remain in close contact with our partners in government to see if, in later years, if certain clarifying changes to the zoning are being pursued, that maybe something like this could be cleared up for other projects with a mission-driven purpose like ours.
Thank you for that discussion. And lastly, can you respond to any comments or discussion on this project that emerged at the community board?
Sure. I think we're going to tag team this one a little bit. So there was some conversation at the community board about the population being just for women. And as I stated, there are 2 purpose-built sites for men in the city, and we feel very strongly that this could really be a solution to help bringing down the census at Rikers for women and helping to close the women's jail there, which is in alignment with city goals. And it's really just core to what we do.
Yeah.
There were also kind of a line of questioning about ensuring that the new building was continued to be used for its stated purpose. We are in the midst of contract and budget negotiations with the Department of Homeless Services for a 30-year debt service contract that would underwrite this program, this project. And it's my understanding, I see Ben creeping up, that there are also restrictions on the use of the property regardless of the owner. Did I say that right? All right. And so, we would be held to that for at least 30 years, if not more. But that's not our angle here. I mean, we've been in this community for 45 years. We have 3 other sites in Bed-Stuy alone. And our goal here is to stay and to continue what we're doing on a smaller scale. And I think our track record kind of states that. There was a line of questioning about the use of local vendors for construction, and I'm going to ask Kimberly and Ben to tag team that one.
Sure. So this project will be bid out to a limited number of invited bidders, and it will also be publicized to the community. We will be making selections based on qualified contractors and their submission therein. There will be an RFP process that will be organized by the consultants, but we'll go through the Providence House website. And we are definitely going to encourage whatever selected general contractor we end up with to utilize local employment and to provide reconciliation as part of their contract. When we award them, it'll be part of their requirements.
Wonderful.
That's our plan.
Okay, thank you.
And finally, there was a notable line of questioning at the land use committee in particular, as opposed to our appearances before the full board, with respect to just ensuring that the development will not have a detrimental impact during the construction process on neighboring properties. Of course, when this project is developed, all necessary construction access to neighboring properties will be sought, through arm's length agreement. We will be demonstrating to neighboring property owners that we're carrying appropriate levels of insurance, that neighbors are indemnified against damage and causes of action that might arise from our construction activities. But somewhat uniquely to this project, through our process with city planning, our environmental review had identified that although we are not located in a New York City historic district under the jurisdiction of the Landmarks Preservation Commission, this is an area of the state that the states has scheduled as a potential area for historic preservation. And because it's been scheduled for such, in order to obtain a negative declaration with our environmental review, we had to adopt a restrictive declaration against the property that is already of record, that establishes deeper obligations with respect to construction monitoring. So basically, we can't shake the ground as much as we otherwise would.
Yes. Thank you for that. The panel is now excused.
Thank you very much.
We will now call for testimony on this application from members of the public who are in attendance. Please note that all comments are limited to 2 minutes.
Idris Abdullah. Evening.
Good evening. My name is Idris Abdullah. I am the second vice president of the 79th Precinct Community Council, served on Community Board 3, and I presently am a member of the Land Use Committee. I want to say one thing in reference to this project. This is a project that is significantly needed in our community. About 20 years ago, now Danielle said she's been there 8 years. 20 years ago, Providence House came to Community Board 3 and they did a presentation on a project 275 Kosciuszko. And we grilled them so hard. And I could say that everything then that they professed to make sure was done, I can see it in this particular project. We, myself and a couple of some of the other members, we actually did a surprise walkthrough through the project. And me being surprised that it was just like as if they just did that project recently. Everything was immaculate. Everything was up to par. You couldn't ask for nothing better. Me being a member of the 79th Precinct Community Council, that sits in my district. So whenever there's issues that happens around these type of facilities, they always come to myself and 79th Precinct. And I could say, if any, that we have not, and we went back and we looked, if any, we might have had maybe one confrontation within the 20 years that that project has been there. So they did an excellent job with sticking to their commitment. On this project here, I'm hoping that the Borough President takes heavily into consideration the support that we are looking for with this project here. Because a lot of projects come to the community and there's not a lot of support. So, but it still gets through. But when there's a project significant as this one, and understand the purpose of this project, we're going to make sure that he follows through, and along with the other agencies that this project have to be presented, city planning, et cetera, et cetera. But one of the things, they made sure that every question that we had at this presentation, they nailed it. And if they didn't have the answer, when they came back, because we made them come back a couple of times, and when they came back, they made sure that what we requested, they met it. So we are with them 110%. And I want to, again, thank y'all guys for bringing it into our neighborhood in Community Board 3. But again, and I'm going to leave, the voice of the community is significantly important. We are the pulse. We are the heartbeat of the community. So when we get these type of projects and we understand and we have to walk past this project or we live there and we have to get the feedback, our voice, our opinion is extremely important. So again, I want to thank Providence House, and I hope that our borough president, I know he will because he's a good man, that he actually supports this project. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Idris.
We've exhausted the list of signups. Is there any further testimony on this item?
Hearing no further comment, this item is now closed. Please call the sixth item.
Calendar item number 6, 1720 Atlantic Avenue rezoning, a private application for a zoning map amendment from M11 to C44D R7A and an R7A C24 district, and a zoning text amendment to map MIH and allow additional street wall flexibility to facilitate a new 13-story, 263,277 square foot mixed-use development, including 191,429 square feet of residential space in 278 dwelling units, with 70 of those being income restricted, about approximately 50,000 square feet of commercial space, and approximately 17,000 square feet of community facility space in Community District 8, Brooklyn. Please state your name and present this application.
Good evening, Jay Goldstein on behalf of the Bawabi Realty. In here presenting the 1720 Atlantic Avenue rezoning. Thank you for having us tonight. The proposal before you seeks to rezone an M11 district, which is currently an existing one-story shopping center on the corner of Atlantic Avenue, Schenectady Avenue, and Pacific Street. The property's been an M1 zoning district since about 1961, and we seek to change that to a C44D, R7A, and R7A with a C24 overlay, as well as to map the MIH option 1. Next slide, please. As you can see, the existing conditions, there are 3 tax lots that comprise the zoning lot. The property has a total lot area of 48,000 square feet. It's got a one-story commercial strip mall, which occupies approximately half of the site. The proposal before you would allow for approximately 300,000 square foot building with 230,000 square feet of residential floor area and a blank canvas at the first and second floor with up to 70,000 square feet of commercial or community facility space, depending on what the community's, what the feedback we had from the community and what we anticipate for the space. Right now, it's anticipated that we would have commercial, especially there was expressed interest in having a supermarket. One of the supermarkets that's actually in the space has a longstanding relationship with the owner, and they've been offered options, first rights to come back into the space, and they've actually expressed interest. So a lot of the tenants that are here are long-term tenants with long history of relationship with the developer, and we seek to, during construction, relocate them, as many of them have many spaces within our other properties, but those that wish to come back will be invited back with open arms. Next slide, please. Again, the proposal would take this M11 district and create a C44D along Atlantic Avenue. There'd be an R7A along the Pacific Street and half of the Schenectady Avenue frontage, as well as a commercial overlay along Schenectady Avenue. The thought process being that the bulk would be along Atlantic Avenue, and we would have the commercial overlay so that it could wrap around at Atlantic Avenue as well as along Schenectady Avenue to really create a more a robust ground floor at the site so that it creates a light, airy, and safe condition at the site. Next slide, please. Here again, you see we have 270 feet of frontage on Atlantic Avenue, as well as 210 feet of frontage on Pacific Street and 200 along Schenectady. Next site. This is an aerial view of the one-story commercial. As you can see, it's a really underutilized site. We have an opportunity now to create a mixed-use building where residential wasn't permitted previously. We'd be able to create or create better and more commercial spaces, community facility spaces, and to provide residential to a site that otherwise wouldn't be able to have it. Next slide, please. The City of Yes Changes didn't really change the majority of our building. The biggest impact on it was the R7A district, which allowed us to increase it from the proposal of 263,000 square feet to about 300,000 square feet, and about 278 units to 300 units. And it also had the ability to allow us to increase from 70 of the affordable units to 84 affordable units. That number of affordable units represented a 20% increase to the total district affordability. Right now, we understand there's 400 units of affordability in this district. We'd be creating 84 new units. Next slide, please. The building would have its, the mass and the bulk of the building would front on Atlantic Avenue, and then it would have a step-down approach as you turn the corner on Schenectady and go across Pacific Street. And we felt that the staggered nature of the building provides a nice transition between Atlantic and Pacific Street. Next slide. As opposed to other properties and projects that you're used to seeing, we have a unique situation here where we're actually proposing 50% of the building to be 2 and 3 bedroom units and the other 50% to be studios and 1 bedrooms. The intent, after feedback from the community board, was to create more than just a transient building. We're creating a community, a building that'll have larger units for families and for families that can stay in the area. And it will also have smaller units for college students, singles, young couples just starting out, and older families that are transitioning, older couples that are downsizing from their previous houses. Next slide, or the next one. This is a rendering eventually of the corner of Schenectady and Atlantic Avenue. You can see that there was a lot of thought and attention to detail so that we would limit the presence of the bulk while really reinvigorating that frontage along Atlantic Avenue, which can be quite desolate at night. So this will create a lively and safer environment for the community. Next slide. This is the corner of Pacific and Schenectady. And then the final slide is the frontage along Schenectady Avenue. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Great. Thank you for your presentation. We have a few questions. Was an MX, a mixed-use MX district, considered potentially to match the rezoning proposal of the nearby AIM-UP district?
So this started well before that, and the C district and the commercial overlay were actually contemplated to really match the uses that have been at the site for the past roughly 30 years when my client developed the strip mall. So it was felt that that combination would allow us to have the residential with the commercial that matches what's existing and what the community has expressed as wanting to come back.
Was, given the proximity to the elevated LIRR tracks, was the C4-4L district ever discussed?
It was discussed briefly, but we were told and guided to look at this district as more, conforming to what was there and what can be built, and created a nice blend for the transition between the various districts that we're proposing.
Great, thank you. Given the proximity to the Utica Avenue subway station, would the applicant be willing to reduce the number of parking spaces, and would doing so allow for more housing units to be built?
So it was discussed, it was contemplated, but the property itself right now, as a commercial building, has spots that are regularly utilized. When talking to the community board, there was an appreciation for the number of spots, mostly because those spots allowed them to absorb what we've heard tonight over and over again, the traffic and the number of cars that come in. So while we are close proximity to mass transit, we are proposing family-size units. Most of those families will have cars. We are proposing a pretty substantial commercial space. Most of those spaces will need parking for their patrons, as well as the parking will be all contained within the building in the cellar, as well as a portion of the first floor. It'll take loading and unloading off of the street. So we did, contemplate getting rid of parking, but we really do believe that this project warrants the parking, and it's appreciated by the community, especially It was one of those comments that we kept getting, thanking us for it.
And will the proposal be using any financing tools such as 485X?
It's anticipated to go for 45X on this project, yes.
And for the purpose or the folks that are listening online, what are some of the requirements that would come along with that for this project?
So I'll defer to Brian Cook from Capolino on this item, but he can address it better.
Thank you.
Sure. The site will be required to have a 25% affordability requirement as all 45X sites. The notable portion for this is because it's in zone C and above, we are anticipating to be above 99 units, will require us to have a minimum wage for our construction contractors as well as prevailing wage for the building service workers. The minimum wage is the significant increase of cost of doing the larger building, but we felt it was warranted here to produce the right design.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. The panel is now excused.
Thank
you. We will now call for testimony on the application from members of the public in attendance. Please note that all comments are limited to 2 minutes.
We have no signups for this item. Is there any other testimony for this item?
Hearing no comment, this item is now closed. Please call the 7th and final item.
Calendar item number 7, Domino Site B. Actions to facilitate the alteration and expansion of the Domino large-scale general development for Site B to expand overall footprint, to remove a previously approved sky bridge, to add balconies, remove a setback, and reduce loading berths to facilitate a new building containing 1,173,500 square feet, including 1,161,270 square feet of residential units across 1,262 units and 12,230 square feet of commercial space, is being sought at 264 to 350 Kent Avenue in Community District 1, Brooklyn. Please state your name and present this application.
Hi, my name is Bonnie Campbell. I'm representing Two Trees Management Company, who is the developer and owner of the site. Thank you so much for having us. We want to thank you for your partnership over the past 10 years as we've executed the Domino Master Plan, one site at a time, including the park. We've come back to this office and to the community board on many occasions to try and tweak and modify and improve each building and the park and public space as we've brought them to fruition. And this is the final building, and we intend to do just the same here. You can flip through kind of the next several slides very quickly. This was the original master plan as it was conceived. This is where we are now. Again, through this process, we've tweaked and improved every element of the master plan. You can kind of keep going through, including the park, the turf field, which was a subject of a ULURP action. Each of the buildings has gone through either a minor mod or a major mod to really kind of, again, improve both the quality of the architecture, the public space, the functionality, the mix of units, to really create a campus that's thriving and has a number of community benefits. So you can kind of keep going. The Domino Square was the subject of a small ULURP modification to really enable this public amenity and performance and gathering space. Now here we are at the final building, slide 16. And we really kind of wanted to do two main things here. We wanted to improve the architecture and the design, and improve the quantity and the quality of the housing here. So to that end, we hired Rex Architecture. They're the architect, most notably in slide 17 here, for the Perlman Center for Performing Arts in downtown Manhattan. And we really tasked them with kind of those two things. Can we increase the quantity of housing and a mixed income housing, and can we improve the architecture and the public realm, how this building fits in? So you can kind of flip through these rather quickly. One of the first gestures was the sky bridges. While they look pretty cool when we went through the master planning process, from kind of a qualitative standpoint, both from the public realm and within the building, they really created kind of a massing that didn't allow light and air. So we've eliminated the sky bridges. And then the other thing we tasked them was to have meaningful outdoor space for all unit types, all income bands throughout the building. They came up with a pretty creative system of undulating balconies, essentially a ribbon You'll see, and as we kind of move forward, you can keep going. There we go, right there. An undulating set of balconies and apertures. It's almost like a kind of a system of sunscreen and balconies that allows every unit type to have private outdoor space. These balconies are about 7 feet deep by 20 feet in width, so they're significant in size. You can have a family of 4 can have dinner out there, and again, they are available to all unit types throughout the building, not just kind of the penthouse units, which some of the other buildings have had rooftop space. And this is applying that gesture to the whole building. Slide 31, you can kind of get a sense of how this looks. It creates an interesting play of architecture. It also helps the building read much more residential in nature. The sheer kind of nature of the building that was approved in 2014 read a bit like an office building. So this one you can really understand kind of the topology of space that's inside, and where it hits the street. It just is much more pedestrian in scale. It actually also serves to deal with some of the pedestrian wind comfort issues that we studied in 2014. But when you get rid of the sheer wall, it does break up the wind that hits the building and hits both the public realm and some of the spaces. You can keep kind of moving through. These are the renderings from different vantage points. And then one thing I should mention here is the original proposal in 2014, due to a EIS impact on school seats, included a public school here. We very much intended and were excited to include that as part of the building. Between 2014 and now, there were several iterations of reanalyzing the CEQA impacts as it relates to school seats, and the latest one found that there was no impact. We still intended to put a school in, so we issued the letter to the Department of Education and the SEA, telling them that we were starting the design and we were ready to include the school in the podium. They also looked at the number of seats and the needs in this district as compared to others, and they formally declined the option. At that point in time, we prioritized housing and trying to fit as much housing in this building as we can. And so, we did hear at the community board, and we've heard from other stakeholders that, they are a bit dismayed that the SCA was quick to decline the school option here. So we have expressed a commitment to work with the community board and with the local council person to see if we can have collective effort to lobby the SCA and the DOE to consider putting a school in our River Ring development, which is one site, 1 block north of Domino, which will also have a YMCA, but it has 2 buildings, one of which could definitely accommodate a school. We have kind of a track record and history of putting schools in our buildings. We have one in Dumbo, the Dock Street School, and we think it's a great way to kind of create a mixed-use neighborhood. You can keep moving through. That's where we were. This is where we are now. Again, this is just kind of showing some compare and contrast. They're not major changes, but I think they're significant kind of in the qualitative environment and both public realm and, users of the building. At the street level, we think there's significant benefit in this redesign. This kind of undulating storefront really breaks it up. We've amenitized the sidewalk significantly, just kind of based on what we learned throughout the Domino campus, both with wayfinding and with the engagement of like the local independent retailers and the sidewalk space, seating, all that kind of thing, lighting. So it'll very much be in character with the rest of the campus. These sidewalks are actually significantly wider than the rest of the campus. It is a bigger building, it's taller, gives it a little bit more breathing room. But otherwise, in terms of kind of how it connects to the park and how access is working, it's pretty much the same. Slide 52 highlights the changes in the ULURP envelope, which I'm happy to get into. The next slide talks about some of the outcomes here. So, notably, we were able to accommodate more units in this envelope. We were able to accommodate more family-sized units in this envelope with the wider footprint of the residential bars. We're able to get somewhere probably 30-40% twos and threes. The neighborhood has really matured. We've noticed more demand for these types of units. This is an opportunity to do that. And again, I think notably having all these typologies and all income bands have access to private outdoor space is something that we don't have currently at Domino. And this application includes a text amendment that would enable us to take the City of Yes zoning deductions from the other buildings on the zoning lot and absorb them here. That would result in about 100 more units of housing, 20 of which will be affordable to 60% AMI and below. The other voluntary inclusionary requirements from 2014 remain unchanged. And I think the final slide is kind of a summary of everything. There's no new, I guess I should say, there's no new impacts from an environmental standpoint. The density of the project in terms of floor area is not changing. It's still below a 6. That's about it. Oh, I should also note, like when we went through this process in 2014, we made a commitment to try and hit 700 units of affordable housing. And I'm excited to say that we're on track to get to 860, which was, as we've kind of gone through this process, which has just been great, a great achievement.
All right, thank you for your presentation. You answered some of our questions in the middle, but could you clarify what mechanism will the proposed new affordability levels be regulated under and administered by?
Yeah, so the text amendment itself, if we're going to take those deductions that I mentioned from the other buildings, requires them to be at the, is it UAP levels, which is 60% or below. And then the voluntary inclusionary requirements from 2014 are still memorialized in the restrictive deck. Yeah, and the new ones will be as well, but they're also in the text amendment, both places, yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you for your presentation. The panel is now excused.
Thank you.
Yeah. We will now call for testimony on this application from members of the public who are in attendance. Please note all comments are limited to 2 minutes.
We have no signups for this item. Is there any further testimony on this item?
Okay. Hearing no additional comment, this item is now closed. And with that, this ULURP public hearing has now ended. The Borough President will review these applications and submit his recommendation to the City Planning Commission, which will hold its own hearing on these items at a later date.
Oh, sorry.
As a reminder, members of the public may submit comments to testimony at brooklynbp.nyc.gov for the Borough President's consideration until Friday, July 18th, 2025. This meeting is now adjourned.